Well, hello and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn. What a surprise. And also a regular here, Thea Montgomerie Anderson. Glorious names. Where did they all come from?
Thea, my mother wanted us to sound Europeans. My sister's called Colette, and my mum was young in the war. So she decided that we should sound European, just in case there were any more wars. And then Montgomerie Anderson is my dad's last name. So yeah, the Montgomery bit is we're the IEs, not the Ys. So we're the ones that became Protestants. And that's why the name gets changed from the Y to the IE to signify which side of the family is Catholic and which side is Protestant. And obviously Anderson's the biggest clan. And our governing clan, I think, is Clan Ross, because Anderson clan hasn't had a chieftain since 17 something. And that is my goal, to become the
You want to be
chieftain of
that chieftain?
the
Oh, I love it. No, we'll
clan.
start the campaign today. It's got to be good.
No, I
We
think
can
it was
have it.
during the because obviously we're the biggest clan, so we had like the most way, and so I think it's when England and Scotland made their kind of joint thing. They didn't want us to have a strong roadie clan, so they took away the chieftain, and I don't know, yeah. So no, and we've not had one since. I think we're the only clan not to have a chieftain. So I
Ah,
think that's a chieftain.
well, there you go. And we will rectify. We're trying to right all the wrongs of the world, and not having a chieftain is certainly one. The first female one would be superb. So there we are, another mission, another mission. And one of the things we are on a mission for is basically to inform. We talk about questioning everything because it's only by sensible discussion, and we talk about sensible discussion, that people learn. It's about making informed decisions. And we've been looking at alternative medicine. In the previous episode, we talked about black mold and the horrendous damage that can be caused by that, and what people can do to search it out, to basically prevention being better than cure, to make sure you get rid of the black mold in your home as soon as possible. But also, where people have been affected by it, what can be done? And we talked about things that people may not have come across, like such as brain spotting last time. And we promised that we would unpack, get rid of the jargon, make so people can make some sort of informed decisions. And we're going to work through all the acronyms. I always say IHA. I hate acronyms, so we're going to work. We're going to work on that basis. So talk us through NLP.
Neurolinguistic programming, my friend. Oh, by the way, quick one, black mold. Go through ChatGPT if you want to know anything about black mold. It's really good. I fed it loads of information, like loads. So all my research is in ChatGPT, and that makes sense. So if you do need to know how to get rid of it in your home, how to heal your body, all the stuff that I've learned, I put into my ChatGPT, and then I got it to like feed me back programs on how to do things. But that also means that that will be available for everybody else, FYI.
Brilliant.
But good,
Yeah, do that. Check out the previous episode as well of the Andrew Yorn Show, and
right?
all that. What we'll do, we'll send all the links. I think the more information we can get, and we
Okay.
promise we're going to get lots of experts on. So if people have got
Yes.
questions, we're going to get them coming back and so on and so forth to have a look at that. But I do think together we can make a difference.
Okay, so NLP. I originally used NLP when I worked in sales and neuro-linguistic programming, and that was to program the person that I'd be sitting with. If, let's say, I kept talking about 200 this, 200 that, in theory, when I say to them, what do you think this product's valued at? What do you think it's worth to you? They go, 200,000. And that was the theory. And that neuro-linguistic programming, you listen to how the person talks and put it in their terms. Well, that also can work for your brain. So you are basically a computer, and under the age of like 8, everything around you is like loading programs, like it's basically loading software onto your hard drive. Now the great thing about it is that you can rewrite your hard drive if you want to. And I had a bit of a faulty hard drive. It wasn't faulty, but my parents were of the generation. My sister was head girl at Colgraston, in the days when Colgraston made girls to get married. You learn to walk with books on your head and high heels and chockies. And so my sister was a just until girl and I was a just in case. So I got a lot of conflicting information about get a husband, but also have a career. You need to have a man to look after you, but you need to be independent. You have to know where you're coming from, right? So neurolinguistic programming was phenomenal for me because it meant that I got to unprogram and reprogram my brain for what the life I currently now have and the life that I wanted. So I used a lady called Samantha Abrahams, who has a website called Sam Stood Still. And she's a very successful woman in her own right, has earned a lot of money from a young age. Is not somebody who's like, oh, it's hard to be a woman. I think her father, I think, was from Barbados. not father, her grandfather was from Barbados, was a shaman and a priest. I mean, she's got really interesting heritage. Anyway, but this woman used neurolinguistic programming with me with hypnotherapy and EFT, and I'll explain to you what they all are, to help me get rid of old dogma and values and programs that just weren't working for me and weren't serving me into, you know, the 2020s, and to reprogram me for things. So for instance, because I had a horrific learning experience, no fault of the school, just the way that my brain worked. And so I had this thing where I was constantly getting unmarkables. And so for me doing exams, even as an adult at university, I would literally have the delly belly and vomiting. Now, that's not very helpful when you're doing BTEC's undergraduate degree and a postgraduate and you plan to go do a PhD. It just plays havoc with you. And my avoidance, even though I had all the knowledge, I'd done all the studying, I'd be avoiding doing the paper. And so it became a massive, massive problem for me. So Sam would listen and talk to me. What she would do is she would use hypnotherapy to drop me down and make me, I would go for reflexology beforehand to relax my body and relax my mind. And then I would go straight to her and she would drop me down in hypnotherapy and talk to my subconscious. Now, you are aware of everything that's going on, by the way. There's none of this, oh, he made me behave like a chicken. It's not that sort of hypnotherapy. This is basically you being in a relaxed enough state that the truth comes up. And then in my own terms, she would then use my style of language. Because we all speak, the way you speak linguistically is different to the way that I speak linguistically. The sort of words that I use, being a Scot, will be different to the sort of words that resonate with you and, you know, and your subconscious. So this is why you need somebody who knows what they're doing. So she would make notes, and then we would tap out the information and the programming and the emotions and the energy. So energy, emotions, energy and motion, right? The stuff that was trapped inside of my psyche and inside of the water of my body. And she would use pressure points. There's like pressure points here, here, above your eyebrows, on your head, right? Tap it in, tap it out. And she would get me to talk and say things at the same time. So it might be like, I am a brilliant at doing exams. Oh, even now when I say that, my throat goes, are you sure? But before, when I was doing it, I'd be like, oh, I'm brilliant with saying exams. I'm brilliant with saying exams. And then eventually would get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's how you know the energy is moving and you're releasing this false belief that I can't do exams, because I was basically getting unmarkables up until about the age of 13.
Well, it is interesting because, I mean, again, there's lots of buzzwords. One of the words of the year, the dictionaries come out every time. Manifestation is apparently the word of 2024 for one dictionary. How does that play into the NLP train of thoughts?
Okay, so if you look at manifestation, what is manifestation? Manifestation is that you are programmed and those programs will come to pass. Now, just say, I want a degree. I want to have a songwriting degree. You can say that all day long, love. But unless you be taking action, and unless you got the law of attraction, law of assumption, all these like cool things that people talk about. But really what this comes down to is action and self-belief. Now, I believe that I could eventually get the degree. And it was my third attempt at getting a degree, by the way. I'm a trier, fucking try. But this time I got a degree and I was at an institution called BIM Institute that catered for my needs and that understood what I needed and how to present information to me that I could get a 2-1. But I then had to take further action. And the action was that I had to seek out people that could get rid of my faulty programming and reprogram me so that I could sit my exams and be the best version of myself that I could be. So I wrote on the bit of paper that I will get a songwriting degree and I actually wrote I'd get a first, which I didn't believe I would ever get. But I was shocked that I got a 2-1. I'm really pleased that I got a 2-1. But shocked in a positive way, because when I started that qualification, they were tipping me at getting a third. So I got up the scale because I managed to take the action and the positive stuff. Now, part of that was journaling and the visualization of me doing the degree. Like I used to have to visualize I was doing the paper before I did the paper. And then I would take the small steps and the small incremental steps. But all of this manifestation is you're not going to win Olympic gold if you're not an Olympian. If you haven't done that my cousin was a champion ice skater in Canada. Now she trained 4 to 5 hours a day for that. So that's why she became a champion ice skater. So with all the manifestation in the world, it has to take action. Now, what will happen, and this is where NLP comes into its own and hypnotherapy comes into its own, is that you are basically a magnet. And so I studied cymatics as part of my degree, and within you are a frequency. So when I hit a tuning fork, that's a 432 hertz tuning fork, all the other tuning forks in the room that are 432 hertz will hum. They'll go hum, and I won't even have touched them. And this is exactly the same for you, right? And for any person out there. What frequency you're giving off is the other frequency you'll resonate with. So if you then go and do the work on yourself and stand in your power and offload a lot of the crap and then reprogram yourself, you will obviously attract different opportunities to you, right? This opportunity here, you and I talking about this, would not have happened 4 years ago to me, because one, I didn't have the knowledge, and two, we wouldn't have been resonating in the same way. You're interested in sharing information. I am interested in sharing my experience, which a lot of people don't want to do, but I'm happy to put myself out there and tell people the horrors and the healing story, the resurrection that I had. You know, Jesus, I've had my own moment, I've had my own resurrection, and the way that I did it to give people hope, and also that there are cheaper ways of doing it than the way I did it. You know, if you don't have a phenomenal amount of money to spend, there is Mind Valley. I sold my home to get better and to educate myself. Not everybody is willing to sell their forever home and put themselves on ground zero financially to make it better. But I gambled on me, and I knew it wasn't a gamble, because I know Grant Cardone, actually, during lockdown, I realized I had to change my friends, because I was around quite negative people that were all sick and poorly. And I realized that that was impacting me. And that was what I was, you know, you become like the people you hang out with, right? And so my new friends were Lewis Howes and Grant Cardone. And I followed them relentlessly online, and they changed my life. And they were so positive. And Lewis Howes is very dyslexic and has extreme reading and writing difficulties. He's a whole team around him to make his stuff work. His sporting career didn't go as expected. He ended up living on his sister's sofa in his 20s. God, it was just horrific. And Grant Cardone was just like, you don't invest in stocks and shares, you invest in yourself. If you're going to sell your home to do something, you invest in your health and you invest in your education. That is better than stocks and shares. That is ultimately what's going to change your life. And what I noticed was, the more I reprogram myself and the more now I can NLP myself, because I understand how it works. I record voice notes for myself, like I'm healthy, I'm safe, and I get really into the detail. My
So
lung.
let's unpack. So somebody starting at home, as you say, that the great thing about this, they can watch the Andrew One show with this wonderful moment, and they can say, look, we can make ourselves feel better. It's basically building your own confidence is one way of putting it. I'm sure it's much wider than that, but you're building your confidence to do something. It sounds the same with manifestation. If you see it, then you're more likely to do it. It's rather like having a target. And they used to do in sales exercises. People sort of turn around and say, right, here's a dartboard. You're all given a dart. See how good you are at throwing. They'd throw the thing at the dartboard and they have varying degrees of success. They would then take the dartboard away and say, now how do you score? Well, if you don't have that target, you're not going to be able to do it. So you're looking at that sort of principle. So
But it's
people
also the
watching at
writing
home,
down of it. But there's
yeah.
also, so the hand, people type things, there is a hand to brain connection. So whether you are eliminating bad energy from your body, you can get a pen and you'll be like, oh, this awful thing happened to me, scribbling. Actually, that releases the energy from your body. You don't even need to journal, right? But the thing about manifestation is that it's proven that people, in fact, there was a neuroscientist that I watched online, his name, and he writes down and he explains to you how the hand to eye thing. So you write down what it is you want to do, then you write down the very small steps. You have to break it down, your manifestation, into the how am I going to do it? What am I going to do? Exactly when am I going to do it? How do I feel doing this? Right. And you get really detailed into it. So your whole body and your brain then understands that it has a plan and it will then put it into action. Now, with the attitude of gratitude, every morning writing 10 things that you are grateful for, that will help your manifestation come true. Because when you bring gratitude and happiness and stuff like that into your life, you're changing your internal frequency, you're changing the signal that you are giving out, and then you will start to attract better opportunities to you. You know yourself, if you get somebody who goes, oh, I can't do that. Oh no, this never works for people like me. I mean, manifestation doesn't work. Are you going to help that person? No, I'm not. But if I get somebody who goes, I don't have a clue how I'm going to do it, but I believe, and I'm going to ask all the people I bump into today, I'm going to believe the universe is sending me people that are going to help me, and I'm going to ask them if they can help me. You can't help helping somebody like that, even if, like, I mean, I had a girl who wanted to be a model, who's a photographer I worked with once, and she had an alcoholic drink and then shared with me that she had this fantasy of being a model, and she had this fantasy of doing the shoot and being all hot and sexy, and she wore glasses. She wasn't, really the type you think. I was just like, wow, really? I didn't see that coming from you. And I was like, you know what, I can help you do that. And I'm a stylist, I do hair, makeup, fashion, I'm a photographer, a videographer. Let's do a shoot. I'll give it to you as a present. And she was like, what, for free? And so she said, let me shoot you and give you some photographs in the future for you, a client, whatever it is you want. And so I did the shoot with her, and she was too embarrassed to put the pictures and stuff up online. And now, 9 months later, she's willing to own her beauty, and that she turned out being really bloody hot. I mean, like, when I did her up, big hair, big this, like, I put her on my social media and people are like, huh? And so she had written about this in a journal years earlier. And it wasn't until we met and I explained to her how the universe worked. And I was like, you've got to ask people for help. If you don't ask them, they don't know what's going on inside of your head. And if you're behind the camera, nobody's going to think that you want to be in front of the camera when you've spent £6,000 on camera equipment to be behind the camera. I mean, and so manifestation is a multiple amount of actions, but it does start with writing things down and getting really detailed.
What I love about this is that we can get people, we can say, okay, let's start now. Let's try a big social experiment where we can get people who are watching to manifest something. And I'd like people to document and maybe write in. They can contact me at Andrew Eborn, at Octopus TV. Let us know on Twitter. Be in touch with the show. Let's try a little experiment. What should they give examples of what they can manifest so they can start now, and how they should start that process, and let's start documenting it.
Okay, so it has to be something believable. If you're living, right, and you're currently earning 20 grand a year and you want to earn 1 million by the end of the year and you don't believe you can do that, it's not going to happen. However, if you're earning 20 grand a year and you believe that you can increase your salary by 10,000 a year, or you can have an extra 10 grand come into your bank in the next 3 months, and you genuinely believe that's possible and you're willing to put the time aside to make it happen, right? You need to put the time aside to make this happen, and you need to do the deep dive into your mind and do some research on how to make it happen. Then yeah, you can manifest that easily into life. You need to feel worthy of that money, or of that health thing, right? So I decided that I was going to manifest into my life 4 new clients. And what I did, and this all happened in the last 2 weeks, by the way. And what I did was I wrote down the clients, and there's a thing called, do you remember Rudolf Steiner?
Yes, of course. He's got a building just around the corner from us in Regent's Park. So yes.
Right. So there's the Rudolf Steiner thing of how to make your life better. And what I do every time I want to manifest something is I follow the 6 steps that they do. And the Rudolf Steiner steps are like, as you walk down the street, you take a different route to wherever it is you're going. You give yourself more time, and you stop and you look and go, I didn't notice there was a tree there. Oh, and there's a white house behind it. It's got a blue window. And it's stuff that you walk past every day, and you bring the wonderment back into your life, right? The other thing that you do, so I do this with a pen, is that you get a pen, and for 5 minutes, or you can write down 100 things or 5 things about this pen every day. And trust me, and you do this for 5 minutes. And this is obviously designed in the days before the internet, so you've gotten a book out. But I realized that this pen here, when you take off this bit and this bit, it actually makes a plastic straw. That blew my mind. But you have to do the same item for 7 days. And you do these steps, and every day you write down 10 things, 10 different things that you're grateful for every morning the minute you get up. And the other thing is you make your bed to make your head. So there's some other bits and pieces to it, but those are the things I do. And I do that. I will fall back into doing that when I'm trying to manifest things into my life, so that I have the wonderment. So I open my mind Like a child's mind is open to like, but daddy, why? Why isn't it possible? Anything's possible, you know? And you have to have that kind of mindset, and you have to bring the childlikeness back into your life. Now, once you do that, your mind will be open to having miracles come your way, to bumping into people that want to help you. And also, you have to feel worthy of it. Most people find it hard to ask for help, and they find it hard to accept help,
So,
right?
working out then, so people watching at the moment, work out what you want to happen. And you've talked about some examples, whether it's an increase in clients or it's an increase in money or it's an increase in, I don't know, health. You can look at those sort of things. You can manifest that. You sort of say, okay, this is what I see myself. Is that what you're effectively saying
Yeah.
within a certain time period?
And you have to really write down a detailed visualization. Now, you may see that feels deep inside, you don't feel worthy of it. Now, if you don't feel worthy of it, I recommend you do tapping. You don't have to pay for this, by the way. Tapping is where you tap your pressure points. And again, there are people that give away free videos on YouTube that will show you how to tap in and out emotions. So when you can do I do a 4-minute tap every morning, and it'll be the first thing that crosses my mind. So, for instance, and also the attitude of gratitude. I wrote my first ever boyfriend from when I was 15 a message the other day telling him how grateful I was that he's walked into my life and showed me what unconditional love looked like. Because I grew up in a household where it was like, I will love you if you do. And my mum was very aggressive. There was all sorts of crap going on that I don't want to go on about. But put it that way, I know how to dodge. Right. And that prepared me for real life. But then I met him and he massively impacted my life. He used to make me these play tapes and these playlists. And he gave me my musical tastes. And that musical taste is what took me to university to do music as an adult and has changed my life in such a positive way. Now, I haven't seen him since I was in my 20s, but I wrote him this massive message on Facebook saying, thank you so much for coming into my life. Thank you for this. I had this massive cry and I didn't realize that I had been, and I was the one who dumped him and he didn't take it that well. He took it on the chin, but he wasn't very happy about it. But I just realized that I wasn't ready for the sort of unconditional love that he was giving me. And I needed to escape my home life. And he was a very happy person who wasn't overly ambitious like myself. I'm ridiculously ambitious, but I enjoy being that person. So also by writing that thank you and that gratitude, it moved energy from inside of myself that I've been holding on to. And it pushed and it allowed better energy to come into me, my soul, my body, because you are basically a body inhabiting a spiritual experience, right? So when you take your electricity out your body, it's not just electricity you're taking out, it's the physical, spiritual essence of who Andrew is, who Thea is, right? And the body inhabits that. So what happens is that when you go back to your more spiritual self and you have the attitude of gratitude and you thank people that have come into your life and been your teachers, that leaves space for more good stuff to come and more good light energy to come is the best way I can describe it. Well, the next morning I woke up and I found that somebody that I pitched for business and that I wasn't convinced was going to close had transferred the money into my bank account because they wanted to hire me. Well, that was a lot easier than trying to find another 5 people to get business from. So when you're also manifesting, you also have to really look inside and think, is there an internal blockage to this? Am I putting up a stop sign to the energy of the universe? If so, how can I remove that stop sign? What can I do to remove it and to make myself feel worthy of the good stuff that is waiting there to come to me?
Okay, well, fantastic stuff. So people have got some sort of ideas, they can have a look at that. They can jot those down. Start that process today, and let us know how you get on, because I think we'll keep revisiting this and see what the results are. So manifestation, would you say that's part of NLP? Is that is work on that sort of basis? I know we've got all these labels. Unpacking it, is it a new avenue from it?
I would say that neurolinguistic programming in itself is more scientific than manifestation. They literally program your brain. So if you look at what happened in the, do you remember in China, there was that massive massacre and they killed in Tiananmen Square?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, that was NLP. So what the negative side of, so this is where it's been used for a bad thing, right? So what they did was they took one person from every platoon, so they didn't know each other. And what they did was they brainwashed them using NLP to make them go off and do terrible things against their own citizens. So that was nothing to do with manifestation. That was to do with programming the brain, the neurolinguistic programming of the brain. And so, like I said, you can neurolinguistically program your own brain to do good things or bad things. You can program it to let go of negative information. So whatever programming, and you can program it to think a better version of yourself, to be a more impactful version of yourself.
Right.
So NLP,
In the same ways we did with manifestation, give practical examples. People
yeah.
sitting at home now, let's start that process. Let's start with the good thing, because I think we want the good things, and they can
Yeah, we
apply
only want to get
principles
stuck,
to them.
right? Okay, so with neurolinguistic programming, you're going to work out. So if you can, this is where it's easier to do it with a practitioner, but you can do it with yourself. If you know that there are things that let's say somebody told you when you will, everybody has naturally. So my mom told me when I was younger that I couldn't sing, right? And it went around my head like a loop. Now, I was one of the best singers at my boarding school, did all like anything choral, I was on that stuff. But I still had this belief that was floating about because I had been told that under the age of 8. Well, what I had to do was I used the internet to find out more information about tapping, or you can use Mind Valley. Their course, their app at the moment is half price, I think, for the whole kind of Black Friday week thing, for the whole year. And they've got all sorts of great programs on there, like NLP, tapping, healing your spirit, all this sort of stuff that basically is like self-doing psychotherapy, right? And that with the NLP, I would tap out, I am aware that the information that was loaded in me under the age of 8 is not sure authentically who I am. I'm aware this, and then you tap into pressure points that you're aware that this isn't really you. And then so these different pressure points you can tap it into, and this information is available.
And you mentioned these pressure points before. Does each pressure point correspond to a different emotion or a different thought? It has different impact. We'll talk you through the pressure points.
Okay, so the Chinese go on about meridian body systems. So underneath all of your skin, it's an electrical body system, right? And it's your electrics. And we all know we're electrical, right? We're electrical beings. That's why you need magnesium. And so what happens is that we get energy blockages, right? And that's why you'll notice when somebody gets cancer, that often that will relate to a particular organ that relates to a particular emotional part of their body. So if, let's say, you're angry, you might end up with something wrong with your liver, because that's where anger is stored in the body. And I had an angry liver at one time. I had acupuncture for that. But so what happens is that when you're tapping on these pressure points, you are tapping in or out information, but you're getting the electricity to move. And there are also, so here there's lymphatic points, and here there's lymphatic points. But so what you're doing is activating the electrics inside of your body. Now, ideally, before you do this, you will do some natural lymph drainage, and you have lymphs that are these little lymph glands that carry liquid around your body, a fluid thing. Now, when you exercise, they drain themselves anyway. You can dry body brush every time before you jump in the shower or the bath every day, and do that and dry body brush yourself, and that will wake them up and will get your body draining. You'll know people that have got, and then, or you can do a manual, like on my clients, I do a manual dry lymph drainage thing, and these little points. Or you can go to
talk us through each of those. You showed us sort of head, shoulders, knees, and toes quickly. Talk us through each of those points and how long we should spend on them.
Okay, so it's very gentle. You just press it like that, and you can press, and your ears have got little lymphs, and down to here. Don't worry, I'm wearing clothes. Here, see, I just pressed that and I burped, right? So that meant that lymph probably needs draining. I haven't done it yet this morning. And so there's little pressure points, and you drain it under your armpits here, and you just press them very gently, and it just opens them up, and they go, oh.
And it's only for a couple of seconds. It's that length of time, is it?
It would take you 3 minutes to do it every morning. And if you did that every morning, it's one of the best things you can do for your health. Again, lymphatic drainage, how to do it yourself. You can find that on YouTube. I mean, if you want to go to a professional to do it, so when you've had a BBL, you know what BBL is? Brazilian bum lift?
Go for it.
Brazilian bum. So I don't have a Brazilian bum thing. I'm happy with my bum. But if you'd had a Brazilian bum job where they put in extra to give you a bigger bum, you have to have a lot of lymphatic drainage afterwards, because they've moved fat from one part of your body to another part of your body, and it's very traumatic for your body. You have to roll it yourself and all sorts of
somebody's
stuff.
just died, haven't they, in the UK on that sort of thing, having one of those. So
Oh my God,
incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, like I know a girl who's had it done a few times, but she's an aficionado in surgery and knows what she's doing and makes it her like full-time job for like 3 months is just looking after her body afterwards. Nothing gets her to leave the house except that. But anyway, but there's a woman called Nena, Nena, who has a salon in W11, just off Portobello Road. I think it's on Lancaster Road. Now she's one of the people who does a lymphatic drainage massage, not with a machine, but with her hands. And she's one of the ones that surgeons recommend you go to her. Oh my God, when you come out of that, you feel like a dream, like amazing. So when I had black mold issues, it infected my lymphs. So it meant that my body was pumping it around myself, around my kidneys, my liver was impacted with that. So this is how I got into lymphatic drainage. This is why I say black mold really was my best friend. It has been the greatest teacher I've ever had. It offloaded all my emotions and all the crap that was like stored there and has made me the best version of myself and taught me how my body works, which is no mean feat at 48 to know that I know how my body works. When the medical profession admit themselves that half the stuff that's in the books is out of date and new research shows that it's out of date, but the stuff they're being taught at university hasn't been updated, you know? So really, you need to take control of it. But anyway, so you do this thing and you drain your lymphs, and there's a bit like, you know, in your groin area you do as well. And then that would be the time to start like doing your NLP. So you tap in new beliefs. So I believe and I understand that you know, the things that I learned under the age of 8 aren't necessarily fact. And you know, and then you do I am an amazing singer. Oh my God, even when I say that now, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I believe that 100%, even though I've got a degree in it. So and then you would do it repetitively. And then you do that. And it's the same thing for like so like I said, this thing called tapping. So this is called like tapping basically. So you're tapping in or out beliefs and emotions. But you'll be surprised like when you do it, it can actually start to so a lot of people start by massaging this bit here of their chest, that little bony bit just there, and you might burp, but then some thought will come up or into your mind. You'll be like, why do I not think I can sing? If you really drop yourself down, you're very calm about it, no caffeine, right? Caffeine free moment your subconscious will vomit up the answer. As ridiculous as it might sound, it may be something you haven't remembered. And that's when you can start to use neuro-linguistic programming. So you'll know what words resonate with you. And then you can program yourself with your own beliefs, or you can have somebody else do it for you. But you will also find that in business, if you listen, actively listen to how people speak and the language they use, you will actually be able to use that language to mirror back to them things and close a deal.
And so, I mean, that's one of the common things about NLP. They talk about mirroring and basically that sort of connection. So, just to finish this particular episode, give us 3 top tips for how people can start using NLP today.
Oh, um, to raise your frequency as a human being, reprogram yourself with the stuff that you want to have and the stuff that you need and beliefs that are yours, not somebody else's dogma, not a religion's dogma, not somebody else's values, but stuff that truly you want to happen and see in your life. And to do that, you're going to have to write a list of 10 things that you want in your life and then cut it down to the one thing that you're willing to commit to. And commit to that one thing for 3 months and make all your NLP about that thing for 3 months. Tap it in, tap it out, and surround yourself with people that have and talk in that same manner. So I'm highly positive. I'm the sort of person you probably want to hang out with because I believe that everything's possible because I know it to be true because I've experienced it. Number 2, NLP. Learn to actively listen and learn to also by the act of listening, you will also work out if these are people you should have in your life and business or not. Money is not enough. Just because a client's paying you isn't enough. Is this person going to dampen and like if you look at yourself like an energy hedgehog, like a vibration, are they going to stick stuff in your vibration that's negative and attracting negative experiences to you? Stuff that isn't working with you in the future you that you want to be right now in the present. And be mindful of how you speak to other people. When you say I am, you're also programming the people around you. So I've done a lot of work on myself. I'm amazing. I love myself. I'm so proud of myself. And some people think that's big-headed and whatever, and that's Americans love it. But you know, in Britain, we have to be a bit down on ourselves. Funnily enough, though, I have had many clients say they just love sitting around listening to me talk about myself because they feel instantly better because their brain is also hearing what I'm saying. I'm amazing. I can do anything. You know, I put in the work. I'm worth it. You know, I'm standing in my power. You know, I don't tolerate idiots, and I'm really unfiltered, and I don't care what anybody thinks. Get over it, leave the room. So be mindful of how you talk about yourself is also how you're impacting people around you. And when you talk about yourself positively, you're brainwashing yourself naturally, and you're brainwashing people around you to feel positive about them and about you.
Excellent. There you go. Well, all good stuff. Thea, as always, it's brilliant seeing you. Thank you very much. We're going to be coming back on a regular basis to visit
Yeah.
more of these things, unpack more of these alternative therapies. I always turn around and say, look, obviously, seek professional advice as well. We're going to bring on experts from all sides, get different
Right.
views so people can reach their own conclusions. But clearly it's happening. I want to hear people's experiences. They're tapping and releasing and manifesting and covering all that sort of stuff. So do get in touch. But for now, Thea, thanks so much for joining me.
Pleasure, Andrew. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.